While everyone is distracted, tell your son to go change the locks at her apartment. Do it tonight. I heard my mother whisper those words at my own birthday dinner, right over the cake. She thought I was not listening. But she did not know one thing. When my brother got to my door, he would not be able to use the key. Because there would already be police tape around it, and inside, proof that my loving parents had stolen not just my birthday, but my entire life. At my birthday dinner, my mother leaned toward my father, her voice a conspiratorial hiss meant to fly under the radar of the clinking silverware. While everyone is distracted, tell your son to go over and change the locks at her apartment. Do it tonight. My brother, Caleb, nodded dutifully and slipped away from the table. When he returned an hour later, he was paler than the linen tablecloth. He leaned in, his voice trembling. Mom, oh, you need to listen. My name is Sophie Bennett. I just turned 29. And if you think this night ended with cake, candles, and a happy rendition of a birthday song, you have not met my family. It was supposed to be a truce. A quiet evening at a bistro in downtown Seattle, the bill already settled on my card before the appetizers even arrived. I had foolishly told myself that maybe this year would be different. Maybe, just this once, my mother would remember that it was not Caleb's world and I was not just a temporary guest in my own life. But she did what she always does. She turned my celebration into a tactical strike. I had caught her whisper, her words slicing through the ambient noise of the restaurant. Change her locks. She said it as if I was not sitting right there, 3 feet away. My father did not hesitate. He never does. Do it after dessert, he had muttered, dismissing me entirely. I did not react. I just smiled, cut another precise piece of my cake, and watched my brother walk out the door, his car keys jingling like a warning bell. When Caleb returned, he looked as though he'd seen a ghost. Mother noticed instantly, her eyes narrowing. Well? Did you do it? Caleb swallowed hard, loosening his tie as if he could not breathe. Mom, there is police tape around her door. Every fork at the table froze mid-air. My father frowned, his brow furrowing in irritation. What kind of sick joke is that? Caleb shook his head. His voice was barely a whisper. It's not a joke. There's a uniformed officer standing outside the apartment. He said no one is allowed in. He said there was an incident. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. It went from tense to cold, sharp, and electric. My mother's face drained of all color. What incident? As she demanded, her voice rising. But before Caleb could answer, my phone buzzed violently against the mahogany table. An unknown number flashed on the screen, accompanied by a preview message that made my blood run cold. MS. Bennett, this is Detective Miller from the Seattle PD. Please contact us immediately regarding your residence. The room fell into a heavy silence as I stood up, the legs of my chair screeching against the floorboards. My mother's voice quivered, losing its usual steely command. Lord, Sophie, what is going on? I did not answer. I just grabbed my purse, ignoring the chorus of panicked questions trailing behind me as I walked out into the cool night. Outside, the air felt like shattered glass against my skin. My car keys shook in my hand, but my mind was razor sharp. If there was police tape at my home, then the game had changed. By the time I pulled up to my apartment complex, the reality hit me. 2 patrol cars were parked near the entrance, their lights painting rhythmic red and blue shadows across the wet brick walls. A uniformed officer stepped forward as I approached, his hand resting near his belt. MS. Bennett? I nodded, wrapping my coat tighter around myself. What happened? He glanced down at his clipboard. You re the tenant on the lease, correct? We received a report of a break-in. Your door was forced open, but at first glance, nothing appears to be stolen. We sealed the scene for investigation. I blinked, trying to process the words. A break-in? Who? He raised a hand gently to stop me. We reviewing security footage now. Do you have any idea who might have access to your keys or a reason to enter? I stared at him for a long moment, then exhaled a breath I did not know I was holding. My brother, Caleb Bennett. The officer's pen froze on the paper. He looked up, confused. And why would your brother break into your apartment? I hesitated, the truth heavy and bitter on my tongue. Because my mother told him to. He looked at me sharply. Can you repeat that? I nodded, my voice steady now. She asked him to go over and change my locks tonight without my consent. I think he walked into something he was not supposed to find. Before I could say more, his radio crackled to life. A distorted voice came through the static. We got a match on the prints inside. Sending ID to command. The officer's expression changed instantly, surprise, followed by a deep unease. MS. Bennett, he said slowly. You might want to sit down for this. I sat on the cold curb outside my building, the dampness seeping through my dress. Detective Miller, a man in plain clothes who had just arrived, crouched beside me. His expression was cautious but firm. MS. Bennett, he said, glancing at his tablet. The prints inside your apartment do not belong to your brother. And they do not belong to you. I frowned. Then whose are they? He turned the screen toward me. A man named Lucas Thorne. Does that name mean anything to you? My breath caught in my throat. Lucas. He is the landlord's nephew. He handles the maintenance for the building. Miller nodded grimly. He is currently in custody. We found surveillance footage. He broke into your apartment last night using a copy of the master key. He has been under investigation for a series of unlawful entries across the complex. My stomach twisted into a knot. What was he doing inside? Miller hesitated, glancing back at the building. You may want to see this for yourself. He led me toward the stairwell. The faint smell of stale dust and old paint hung heavy in the air, a suffocating scent that warned me of what was waiting upstairs. My door hung slightly ajar, the wood around the deadbolt chewed up and splintered. Inside, the apartment felt eerily still, almost untouched, save for one chilling detail. Every framed photograph on the mantel, pictures of me and my son, Noah, had been deliberately turned face down against the glass. On the coffee table lay a single, crisp white envelope. Detective Miller gestured toward it with a gloved hand. That was sitting on the couch when we cleared the room. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a printed message, the ink stark against the white page. Tell your mother the truth always finds its way home. My throat went dry, the paper rattling in my grip. This does not make sense, I whispered, the fear finally taking root in my chest. Miller watched me closely. We rerunning forensics on the paper and the printer's signature. Do you have any idea what this implies? I stared at the words again. The alignment was perfect, likely from a standard home office printer, but the phrasing, tell your mother, felt like a physical blow. I stepped back, my heart hammering against my ribs. He was not breaking in to steal anything, detective. He was delivering a message. Miller frowned, his brow furrowing. Delivering what? I swallowed hard, the realization settling like lead in my stomach. A warning. It was meant for her, not me. Suddenly, my mother's erratic behavior at dinner, the urgency to change the locks, did not look like her usual control freak nature. It looked like panic. The next morning, I woke to a barrage of notifications, 3 missed calls from my mother and 1 from an unknown number. Detective Miller's voicemail played first, his tone professional but grave. MS. Bennett, we've confirmed that Lucas Thorne received a significant wire transfer last week. We traced the source back to a holding account under your mother's name. For a moment, I could not move. The air in my bedroom grew thick, pressing down on my chest. My mother had hired the man who broke into my sanctuary. I called Miller back immediately. Are you sure? I asked, gripping the phone tight. Yes, he said, his voice steady. The payment was categorized as contracted maintenance, but given the timing and the note we found, it looks deliberate. We believe your mother may have been trying to retrieve something from your residence. I let out a bitter, incredulous laugh. Retrieve what? I do not own anything she may not already manipulate or buy. Then, I froze. The memory hit me like a splash of ice water. The attic box. Last month, while helping them clear out the old garage, I'd taken a box labelled Dad's Commercial Archives. I had not thought much of it, just shoved it into my closet to sort through later. Inside were property deeds signed by both of them, commercial lots in Texas and Nevada, that I knew for a fact were never declared on their tax returns. I had not mentioned finding it to anyone. Miller's tone sharpened on the other end of the line. MS. Bennett, does your family have a history of financial disputes? History? I whispered, staring at the closet door. My mother has made a career out of them. Within the hour, I was sitting in an interview room at the precinct. The evidence folder on the metal table contained photos of the letter, the splintered door frame, and the bank transaction records. Miller slid the file toward me. Would you like to file charges against your mother? I hesitated. The word mother still felt heavy, burdened with obligation, even if the woman it described did not deserve it. Not yet, I said, my voice hardening. I want to know what she was so desperate to hide first. He nodded slowly. Then you'll need to talk to her. But be careful. That evening, I sent her a text. Dinner. My place. 7:00 p.m. No games this time. Her reply came within seconds. Fine. But I hope you're ready to listen to reason. For the first time in my life, I actually was. At 7:00 sharp, the knock came, light, rhythmic, calculated, just like everything she did. My mother stood at my door dressed in a sharp blazer and pearls, looking like she was arriving for a board meeting rather than visiting the daughter whose home she had violated. Sophie, she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Her perfume hit me first, familiar, expensive, and suffocating. You should not have involved the police. I folded my arms, leaning against the hallway wall. And you should not have sent a criminal into my apartment. Her lips tightened into a thin line. Watch your tone. You do not understand the complexity of the situation. Then explain it, I said, gesturing vaguely toward the living room. She sat on the edge of the sofa, crossing her legs with practiced precision. Your father's business dealings. they were not simple. Those papers you took from the garage, they do not belong to you. Lucas was supposed to retrieve them quietly before you did something stupid. I stared at her, stunned by the audacity. You hired someone to break down my door rather than just ask me for a box? Her voice softened, shifting into that manipulative register she had perfected over decades. I was protecting you, Sophie. There are things you do not need to be burdened with. Mom, I said flatly, cutting through the performance. You've been protecting lies, not me. Her mask slipped, just for a fraction of a second. You think you're smarter than us, do not you? You have no idea what those documents could expose. Your father could lose everything. I let the silence stretch, heavy and suffocating, before I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped the screen. The recording app was already running. You mean the undeclared commercial properties? I asked, keeping my voice even. Or the offshore accounts listed under my social security number? Her eyes widened, the color draining from her face. You, or what have you done? I learned how to stop being your pawn. She stood up abruptly, her composure shattering. You would not dare ruin this family. I met her glare, feeling a strange, cold calm wash over me. You already did that, Mom. The only difference is that I am done covering for it. Her face hardened into something unrecognizable, cold, vicious, and unfamiliar. You will regret this. I smiled faintly. Maybe. But at least it will be my regret to carry. Outside, thunder rolled across the skyline, a low, guttural growl as if the world itself agreed with me. The storm had intensified, rain lashing against the floor-to-ceiling windows, the lightning illuminating the room in harsh, strobe-like flashes. My mother paced in front of me, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, every step sharp and deliberate as a blade. You do not understand what is at stake here, Sophie, as she hissed, abandoning her composure. If those documents go public, your father could face federal prison time. The family's reputation is hanging by a thread as it is. I cut her off. The reputation died the moment you put my name on fraudulent property deeds to hide your assets. Her face went still. The silence that followed was deafening, heavier than the storm outside. I found everything, or I continued, my voice steady. The wire transfers made under my social security number, the forged signatures, even the emails to Lucas instructing him on how to stage the break-in. You did not just drag me into your lies, Mom. You built the foundation of your lifestyle on my back. For the first time, her voice cracked. You were supposed to trust us. I did. For 29 years, I said. And all that trust got me was debt, therapy, and a lock changed by my own brother. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. You would not go to the authorities. You are not that cruel. I looked her dead in the eyes, feeling a strange, icy calm. You broke into my sanctuary, forged my identity, and put my child's safety at risk. What would you call that? Her shoulders slumped, the armor finally cracking to reveal the terrified woman beneath. We did it to protect the family, she whispered. No, I said softly. You did it to protect your image. When she finally turned to leave, she hesitated with her hand on the doorknob. She did not look back. If you go through with this, as she warned, you will never have a family again. I met her gaze in the reflection of the glass. Then maybe it is time I build one worth having. The door closed behind her with a final, hollow click. Thunder rolled again, shaking the window panes, but this time it did not sound like a threat. It sounded like applause. Tomorrow, the documents would be on the investigator's desk. And the truth, my truth, would finally belong to me. The next morning, I drove straight to the Financial Crimes Division, a thick manila folder resting on the passenger seat beside me. The storm had broken overnight, leaving the streets slick and shining, reflecting the sunlight in a way that made the whole city look scrubbed clean. Detective Miller met me in the lobby. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly, eyeing the file. "I'm done being their cover story," I said, handing him the weight of my past. Inside were the deeds, the wire confirmations, and screenshots of every encrypted message proving that my mother and father had used my identity to shield their wealth from federal audits. Years of deception condensed into neat, damning stacks of paper. Miller flipped through the documents, nodding slowly. "This is airtight. Once we file this, they'll open a full RICO investigation. You'll be cleared of all civil and criminal liability." I exhaled, the invisible band around my chest finally snapping loose. Good. I've spent too long carrying their mistakes. That afternoon, I turned off my phone and drove to the clinic to pick up Noah from a routine checkup. He came running into my arms, waving a bright sticker the nurse had given him. "Mom! I got a gold star for being brave." I laughed, kneeling to hug him, burying my face in his small shoulder. "So did I, baby. You just not see mine yet." When we got home, I opened my laptop and typed one final email to my mother. "The files have been turned over to the authorities. Please do not contact me again. If you need legal representation, I recommend the same attorney who advised me to protect myself against you." I hit send and closed the laptop. There was no trembling, no guilt. Just a clean, resonant silence. That night, while Noah slept, I stood by the window watching the city lights flicker below, like a pulse returning to a body that had been dead for too long. My parents had built a world on lies. I had learned to live without them, and for the first time, that felt like justice. A month later, the investigation went public. The local news outlets ran headlines that were impossible to miss. Prominent real estate couple under federal review for identity fraud. Daughter cited as primary victim. I did not watch the coverage. I did not need to. I had lived the headline. The bank seized their hidden accounts. My father resigned from his board position in disgrace. My mother stopped calling, not out of respect for my boundaries, but out of shame. For once, her silence was not a punishment. It was peace. Detective Miller called to give me the final update. "The case will go to court soon. You've been cleared entirely. You did the right thing, Ms. Bennett." I thanked him and hung up, looking over at Noah playing on the rug. His toy cars were lined up in perfect, colorful rows. He did not know the details, and he did not need to. All he knew was that his mother was not afraid anymore. That weekend, I hosted a small dinner at my apartment. Just a few close friends who had stood by me through the chaos. We raised our glasses, the mood light and warm. "To freedom," and my friend Chloe said, clinking her glass against mine. "And to starting over." I smiled, taking a sip. "And to never apologizing for protecting yourself." After everyone left, I tucked Noah into bed and stood for a long moment by the window. The city lights below looked softer now, like forgiveness spread across glass. I thought of my parents, not with anger, but with a sharp, brutal clarity. They had taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Love without boundaries becomes a weapon. The next morning, I mailed a single envelope to the district attorney's office. It contained the last missing document linking their offshore shell company to the domestic accounts. No note, no explanation. Just the truth. When I dropped it in the mailbox, I whispered, "This ends here." I turned back to Noah, who was tugging at my sleeve. "Ready for breakfast, champ?" I asked. He grinned up at me. "Can we have pancakes?" "Always," I said. And just like that, life moved forward.